Hello Wargamers, it's me Callum from TableTopBanter, and in today's video I'm going to go over my 9th Age Dwarven Holds plans. Okay, so in today's video, like I said, we're going to go over my Dwarven Holds army build. Now, I'm going to show you what's on the screen in a moment. I'm basically going to go over my list, my 2,000 point list, which I plan on building towards. Without further ado, let's go take a look. So at the moment it shows nothing, and now it should show everything. Hooray, here we are. So, excuse me. This is my 2,000 points of dwarves, build, paint, and play in a day list. So, what's the plan here? Harry and I are obviously doing a 1,000 point game, which is build, paint, and play in a day. Now, I'm going to build up the models to this, and then work around it for my game with Harry. So, we're going to start looking at my lords. I have spent a vast majority of my points on characters, because they are cool. Who doesn't love a super buff character model floating around? So I'm going to talk about first this king, and I'm going to draw up the view roster. I know that it doesn't quite show up on the screen for some reason, but it does mean I can just go over a couple of the bits about him that you might not know. So this here is a king. He is a pretty buff unit as it is. He's a pretty strong guy. So with the upgrades I've given him, you can see I have given him 125 points worth of runic items. So let's open these up and show you those. So for armour, he has a rune of bronze. Now this gives him an additional wound, I do believe. Let me just scroll down. Rune of bronze is one additional wound. So that means he's even harder to kill. But that was all part of the plan, really. This guy is supposed to be really horrible to deal with. On top of this, he has a runic weapon. So instead of giving him a great weapon to make him kind of buff, I decided to give him a rune of might, which is +1 strength. So he's now attacking at strength of, I believe, 6. He might only be strength 4, actually. Let me double check. The king is strength 4. So he's now attacking at strength 5, which is going to wound most infantry models on 3s. I've also given him the rune of destruction, which means he can do D3 wounds, which is brilliant. And I've also given him the rune of precision, which I believe, lightning reflexes. So that's +1 to hit, meaning this guy is pretty nasty to come up against. Finally, I gave him a single rune of shielding, just to add on a ward save. It increases it by 1, which is pretty handy, given that I believe he has the shield wall special rule. Double check that. He does indeed, which gives him a 6-up anyway. So I'm just trying to save points there just to make him a bit more killy. Other upgrades include a hold stone. Now the hold stone has special rules such that they work well against flanks and rear charges. I can still use the shield wall rule. And I can do supporting attacks to my flanks. So basically it just means this hold stone can be activated and just kind of saves me for a turn. So if I do some bad maneuvering, it can rescue this super killy unit I'm building. That's it for him. He has a shield as well for an extra armor save, so it gives him a 3-up armor, 5-up ward on the most part, that being a 4-up if they are charged, and he'll be attached to a unit I'll explain a bit later on. So then we have our Runic Master. So the Runic Master is basically like a Dwarven mage, but obviously they are stubborn and don't like the magics, so they have runes. Now the runes I've given him 4. He has Rune of Metal, which means the target unit may re-roll failed armor saves. I gave him the Rune of Reckoning, which means that he can re-roll failed to hit rolls in combat. Rune of Resilience, so the alter wound rolls against this unit receive a -1 penalty, which makes the toughness 6 king even harder to wound. Nigh on impossible, given that he is a beast. Rune of Resolve, that is a 6-inch magical move. Now, I was thinking about not taking this, but then I realised how handy it would be with this particular unit have that extra mobility. and they're already fairly mobile. Now, for runic items, I have given him arcane runes, so he can channel on a +1 and opponents channel on a -1. Nothing in runic armor, and for runic weapons, I've decided to make him a little extra killy with 1 rune of might, giving him +1 strength, 1 rune of precision, giving him +1 to hit, and 1 rune of quickening, which means that he has +2 initiative. So again, kind of a killy runic master. This is probably the character I'd take in smaller games because he can still dish out a bit of damage, and he can still and he has that capability of casting those spells which really buff units. Now I am taking an engineer. This engineer has no runic items. He is just a stock engineer with a forge repeater, basically to buff the artillery that I'll be fielding and explaining later on. And finally, we have a Thane Battle Standard Bearer. Now, the Battle Standard Bearer has a great weapon, a hold stone as well. This is in case I want to run him in separate units, or if I'm not taking a king in smaller point games, then the Thane has at least he has it modelled, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because the idea is they wouldn't both have hold stones if they were playing the same game. Likelihood is they'll be in the same unit, so that would be a waste of points. But I want them both modelled this way so that I can give one of them a hold stone if needs be. Runic armour, he has a rune of bronze for an additional wound. Great weapon, and that's that. He's got the banner, which is, let me just check, the Stalker's Standard. So what does that give him again? Okay, so this unit the unit gains Swift Stride, which is rolling 3 dice and taking the 2 highest. Now this is really key for dwarves because they have low movement. So to be able to make a charge, you've got to make it count, and you've got to make sure you can get that range. That's something I found very big on dwarves, especially as I've been looking into some battle reports and stuff lately. Their low movement seems to restrict them, so I really wanted my big, killy, horrible unit to have this available to them. So yeah, basically that Thane is there to buff this massive unit. Now, in core, I have 865 points. That's quite a lot. There probably are other ways to run Dwarven holds, but I'm really looking at kind of maximizing the number of points on characters and having them in this super killy 1 all guts, no glory sort of Death Star. Now, I'm not saying it is a Death Star because I don't think it can categorically wipe out the number of points that it should, but I wanted to have it there anyway. So, the first unit I'm going to talk about is this unit of Clan Marksmen. Now, this 15-man unit of Clan Marksmen have 15 crossbows. They have shields as well because that increases their armor save by 1. So they're now up to a 4-up save, which is pretty handy when it comes down to it. Just, a bit of a bonus. They also have a champion, just in case they need it. Not sure, I kind of fancy giving it to them. I would probably trim that down a little bit. No banner, nothing else, just there to be a small unit of shooting things. The dwarves are pretty iconically gunliney, but I've just given these guys crossbows because that's all they really need in this particular. For this unit, I kind of wanted them just to be a nuisance, a 15-man unit, nothing too major. Now, another unit of Clan Marksmen here. We have a 15-man Clan Marksman unit with shield and guild-crafted handguns. So this whacks up the points a little bit, but I think it's kind of worth it. When you look at the guild-crafted handgun, that is a handgun that has armor-piercing 1 and +1 to hit when shooting. So basically, they hit a lot more reliably. And they have armor-piercing 1, strength 4, so they're reducing saves by 2. And I think that's pretty effective. Hopefully that'll be alright. Now, the thing with shooting is you can only still shoot in 2 ranks. So how I would set these two 15-man units up would probably depend on what kind of opponent I'm going against. But I wanted the 15 just in case I wanted to do sort of bigger guys, sort of really flesh them out if I needed to get the shots out. And at the same time, 2 smaller, like 5 by 3 units, if I wanted them to take up less space, maybe do a bit of blocking, etc. Now we have the main event. So the big unit of Graybeards. Quite simple, really. This is a great weapon wielding 30-man unit of Graybeards. So the idea behind this unit is to kill stuff. Very simple. They are, well, they get the champion has 2 attacks, 1 attack each. If you run him in a horde, which is what I will be doing, that'll be 3 ranks of 10, so it's a big block. I'm going to stick in every single character except the engineer, so the Thane, the Runic Master and the King, all in this unit. They are going to run up the board and be a pain in the proverbial. Now, the key thing to note with this particular unit is the way it's going to stack. So, let's just think back when we looked at the Thane, and he had the Swift Stride. Giving the unit Swift Stride, meaning I will roll 3 dice, and I pick the 2 highest. On top of this, they benefit from the Standard Bearer having the Banner of Swiftness. So this gives them +1 to all their movements. So now instead of movement 3, I think they're movement 3 or 4. Instead of movement 3, they've gone up to movement 4. So that makes a big difference. It means they can now march 12 inches because they have a special rule called Relentless. But more importantly, it means they're charging +4 instead of +3. So it's Swift Stride +4. Which is really, really handy. It makes it slightly more reliable. Now, when we combine this with the special rule of the Runic Master, the Runic Master confers Armour Piercing 1 to the unit he is in. It's his rule, which is Runecraft Mastery. So we've got here 30 guys. In a horde formation, I believe you gain the Fights in Extra Rank rule. So 30 guys who can all attack. They have Strength 6 weapons. They have Armour Piercing 1. They are reliably going to get in combat. That's kind of hard to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong. They strike last because they are at Initiative 0 with great weapons. But the damage they're going to cause is going to be brutal. Absolutely savage. So it's hard not to want to take that. You know, Strength 6 with Armour Piercing reduces saves by 3. You've still got the King, who's super solid, the Runic Master and the Thane, who are all kind of killy. That's a lot of stuff going in one unit. But in that one unit, you're getting a lot out of it. So that's it for the core choices. On to the final 3, which are the 3 special. So I'm taking an Organ Gun, because multiple shots can deal out a lot of damage to infantry. I am taking a Rune of Engineering with this, obviously, because then I get to add 4 to rolls on the misfire table, which means it's less likely to explode. Well, it can't explode. And then we're going to have a Cannon, Engineering Rune again. That's for dealing with the bigger monsters. And finally, an Attack Copter from the Steam Copter list bit, because the main thing I want to do with this is Chaff. He's kind of slightly more mobile, so I kind of want that mobility in there. And, you know, if I can march him, he's going, what, I think it's 16 inches. Unless he's relentless as well. Nope. So I'm going to basically try and march him, get him in the way, chaffing for units, and just really be a pain in the backside. So you can kind of see the way I'm going with this 2,000 point list. Obviously, in a 1,000 point game, I wouldn't take all of it. I would probably go Runic Master for my hero, or my Lord, sorry. I would take maybe the Thane, and then kind of, whether you're struggling for points there, maybe just a Runic Master, some Graybeards, probably in at 20, and some Clan Marksmen. But this is how I'm going to model them up. This is the 2,000 point list I want to build towards. So thank you ever so much for watching. If you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the description below. What did you think of the list? Experienced 9th Age players, please offer tips, though bear in mind I'm not going for the ultra competitive. I'm going for the, I want this unit to be cool. I want my characters to be buff. I want cool things to happen on the table, and big, like, strong, killy stuff without spending too much money. So yeah, if you could leave that sort of advice below, that'd be fantastic. As ever, there are 2 links in the description below. TableTopBanter blog, actually there's 3 now. TableTopBanter blog, the 9th Age page, and the Legion of Gamza Facebook page. Go check all of those out for various different fantastic content and obviously community-based stuff. So thank you ever so much for watching. It's been me, Karen from TabletopBanter. Don't forget, have fun.